When the night grows deeper, something strange begins to happen in the heart of the city. Sounds start to feel unfamiliar, almost unnatural. It feels as if all around us, people are constantly disappearing. Families are breaking apart, silence swallowing stories we never notice. And yet, we never truly understand what kind of darkness is standing so close to us, right beside us. Tonight, the story I'm going to tell you is about a very ordinary man, a man like anyone else. He came to Dhaka with a friend, carrying one purpose in his heart, to recover the money for his father's medical treatment. And from that moment on, everything began to change. But he didn't return home alive. He returned in 26 separate pieces, sealed inside a blue plastic drum. And standing right beside that drum was a face he had known since childhood, a face he once trusted. The story you are about to hear may leave you silent for a few moments, because this is not just a murder case. It is a story of betrayal, friendship turned monstrous, and one of the darkest corners of human nature. A place so disturbingly cold that beside the dead body of a friend, another friend continued indulging in intimacy without remorse. In today's video, we uncover the dark mystery behind this horrifying case. This is the Ashraful murder case. November 13th, 2025. A crowded street in Dhaka, right in front of the High Court. Like every other day, the area was overflowing with people, noise, and endless movement. And in the middle of all that chaos, 2 blue plastic drums were lying by the roadside. To ordinary people, they looked like nothing more than abandoned trash, just another forgotten object in a busy city. But no one standing there could imagine what was hidden inside them. But inside those drums, a truth was hidden. So horrifying, it would soon shock the entire country. For hours, the drums remained there, untouched. People walked past them again and again without giving them a second glance. To everyone around, they were just ordinary containers abandoned beside a busy road. But after some time, a terrible smell began spreading through the area. That was the moment passers-by finally stepped closer. Police were called to the scene. When officers opened the drums, they first discovered sacks of rice placed inside. But underneath them, wrapped carefully in polythene, were 26 dismembered pieces of a human body. Hands, legs, a head, every part brutally cut apart. At first glance, investigators believed the remains belonged to a man, but the identity of the victim was completely unknown. In the middle of a crowded city, 26 separate body parts had been recovered from 2 plastic drums. Within moments, the horrifying news spread across the entire country. Now, police faced a massive challenge. Who was the victim, and who could commit something this brutal? November 14th, 2025. From those 26 dismembered body parts, investigators recovered one intact finger, a single piece that would soon change the entire investigation. Through fingerprint analysis and DNA testing, investigators finally uncovered the victim's identity. His name was Ashraful Islam, a 42-year-old businessman. Ashraful was known as a successful raw goods trader from Noyapara village in Badarganj Upazila, Rangpur. He imported onions and potatoes from India and Myanmar, then transported them by truck to Dhaka and other parts of the country. To the people around him, Ashraful was known as a humble and respectful man, a quiet person, someone who stayed focused on work and family. He was married and the father of 2 children, a 10-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. According to his family, Ashraful had arrived in Dhaka just a few days earlier. The purpose of his visit was simple. He came to recover money that had been tied up in business dealings. And during this journey, he was accompanied by his childhood friend, Jerez, someone he had trusted for years. But after Ashraful's dismembered body was discovered, Jerez suddenly vanished. No calls, no trace, no explanation. That disappearance immediately raised suspicion. Soon, both the police and RAB launched an operation to track him down. CCTV footage later revealed a disturbing clue. On November 13th, between 2 and 2:30 in the afternoon, two individuals arrived in a CNG and abandoned the drums at the scene. Using technology and digital tracking, law enforcement quickly traced and arrested Jarez from Golmari in Daudkandi Upazila of Camilla. But during Jarez's interrogation, another name suddenly emerged: Shamima Akhtar. And that raised an even bigger question. How did Shamima, a housewife from a family in Noakhali, become connected to such a horrifying crime? Using the information provided by Jarez, along with technological tracking, law enforcement arrested Shamima from Laksam. And that was when the darkest parts of the story finally began to surface. Jarez, a Malaysian expatriate worker, had been involved in an extramarital affair with Shamima, a housewife from Noakhali, for more than a year. Their relationship had started through the Emo app. But even after Jarez returned to Bangladesh, the affair continued in secret, relentlessly, quietly, and far deeper than anyone around them had imagined. At one point, Jarez decided he wanted to leave for Japan once again. For that, he needed money, a lot of it. So he turned to his friend Ashraful and asked to borrow 1.4 million taka. But Ashraful refused, and that refusal became the beginning of something far more dangerous. Determined to get the money by any means, Jarez began creating a different kind of plan, a darker one. And in that plan, he involved his extramarital partner, Shamima. Jarez eventually introduced Shamima to Ashraful. After that, Shamima and Ashraful gradually began communicating with each other on different occasions. Slowly, conversations turned familiar, and eventually, Shamima invited Ashraful to meet her in person. November 11th, 2025. Just one day before the murder, Ashraful and Jarez arrived in Dhaka together. They stayed in a rented house in Nurpur, Shonir Accra, along with Shamima. Everything had already been planned in advance. According to investigators, sleeping pills were mixed into a malt-based juice and given to Ashraful. Soon after drinking it, he began losing consciousness. Half awake, unable to fully understand what was happening around him, and following Jarez's instructions, Shamima allegedly attempted to become physically intimate with the semi-conscious Ashraful, and the entire act was secretly recorded by Jarez. The intention behind the footage was clear: to later blackmail Ashraful and forcefully extract money from him. But things did not go as planned. According to investigators, Jarez, who was addicted to yaba, eventually lost control. In a sudden violent outburst, he struck Ashraful with a hammer, killing him, his own friend. After the murder, the body was kept inside that same room overnight. And that same night, inside that very room, Jarez reportedly shared a meal with Shamima, as if nothing had happened. The following day, November 13th, Ashraful's body was dismembered into 26 pieces inside the bathroom. After that, the remains were packed into 2 plastic drums and transported on a CNG as they searched for a suitable place to dispose of them. At one point, noticing increased police activity on the streets, they abandoned the drums right in front of the High Court and left the scene in the same CNG. Afterwards, both Shamima and Jarez went into hiding separately. According to police opinions, there are some differences in interpretation. Police describe the case as a love triangle driven by an extramarital affair, a conflict involving Ashraful, Jarez, and Shamima. However, one conclusion remains clear. At its core, this incident was driven by greed and deception. This case reveals how extramarital relationships and greed for money can turn human beings into something almost unrecognizable. It stands as a warning for all of us against infidelity, manipulation, and betrayal. In our society, friendship is considered a sacred bond. Friendship, trust, and belief, all of them often hide countless hidden faces behind them. And once those masks fall off, we begin to realize something unsettling. that perhaps we never truly know anyone completely. Every mystery carries a lesson within it. Every crime carries a silent warning. And within every incident, there is an unspoken cry, hidden beneath the surface. A cry that reminds us how vulnerable and how exposed we truly are. Sometimes to greed, and sometimes to trust. This video has been prepared based on available information at the time of publication, including news reports and publicly accessible sources, in the interest of public awareness. The judicial process of this case is currently ongoing. The final truth will be determined through official investigation and the verdict of the court. Our purpose is to present this story based on available information, to raise awareness among viewers about such incidents. We strongly hope that the real perpetrators are brought to justice, and that the truth is revealed in full. A question remains: do people truly change, or does opportunity simply reveal who they have always been beneath the surface? The answer to this case may ultimately be decided in court, but the question itself will continue to linger in all of our minds, because incidents like this are not isolated. Somewhere, somehow, they are still happening, often without us even realizing it.